am Danny Otto. Welcome into another episode of That Recap Show. Yeah, surprise you, Rico, because we are live for the show, so we can do little weird stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, no spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm going to do a spoiler alert. By the way, major spoiler alert, we are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 5 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you may want to pause this video. Come back later to the video. Head over to Disney Plus. Watch episode 5. It was really good. No, seriously, we're going to talk about it and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. With that out of the way, let's start the show. I promise, we're starting. Right.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me live to break down everything from episode 5 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, it's no surprise, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hey.
Hello there.
Yes. Perfect time to use it.
Very good.
Little thing. So when we connect into the background before everything starts, the way that I know that Rico's actually here is he plays that sound effect and he plays
Witch!
Thank you,
to
Sean.
which
Yeah.
I can always hear even when I don't have my headphones on.
It's very loud. Very loud.
Yes, it's very loud, and that just shows how deaf I really am because I'm not making any like wincing thing when it's blasting through my ears right now. But
Fine.
Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 5.
Kenobi.
Yeah. Man, look, there's so much to talk about, and you being like I get it. For you, it's like Marvel, Star Wars, and it's kind of like the opposite order for me. It's like, you know, Marvel, Star Wars type of thing. You did not disappoint when you gave a good rating for this episode. I was very excited going in, and the fact that you kind of certified good episode did not disappoint, and I was very excited to watch it. And when I finally did watch it, I was like, oh, that's why. So, I mean, without stepping over any of the major points that you definitely want to have, I just have to like sum up kind of how this episode felt with 1 3-second clip. And if it's too loud, I apologize.
Emotional damage.
Yeah.
I mean, that really does kind of sum up some of the major things that happened in this episode.
Yeah, really.
It was a very good episode.
Fair.
And I mean, it just got me really excited for, you know, next week's finale. I mean, with everything we kind of have like not big things unanswered, we kind of know where all of the players on the board are going to end up after the finale, which is cool.
Right.
Because in most projects you don't. Like we recapped Miss Marvel episode 2. We don't know how that season is going to end. So it's not like we can say from episode 2, we know these characters are going to get to here type of thing. But the cool part about the Kenobi series is we know how it is going to play out into the original trilogy. So we know where these players are going to be, basically. And that's a really cool way of watching a series, is kind of just figuring out how they're going to get to those destinations type of thing. And that's what I really like about how this show has kind of set up every episode to kind of end there and go, okay, but how are they going to get there type of thing. And that's what I really like. And that's what I enjoyed about this episode, because now we have, you know, arguably 3-4 different groups kind of going in different directions. And we have to figure out in the finale how they're going to get back to their original spots, basically.
Right.
And it's really exciting. And yeah, I mean, I like I said, there's so much we're going to talk about in takeaways. I didn't want to, like, you know, lunge forward with any information and just kind of like, you know, blow everything that we're going to talk about.
We're live, baby.
All right. Well, I mean, right. Emotional damage. Like we got some character deaths and not what was the guy's name from the last episode? Why can't I remember him now?
Wade.
R.I.P. Wade.
Yeah.
We got a little bit more significant character deaths than Wade. And no slight on Wade. R.I.P. Wade. But I mean, we had the droid that we've kind of seen have some sort of emotional connection.
Ned.
Yeah,
love Ned.
Kind of, yeah, and Ned loved people because he went out, protecting,
loyal.
Yeah. We saw a thermal detonator, which was kind of cool.
It was really cool. I love me a good old thermal detonator scene.
I just wish. Here's the only thing with that scene. I get like this. It was a very emotional scene, and she was sacrificing herself and all this stuff. And it happens. It's happened in a lot of movies. There's been a lot of movies where somebody's really like mortally wounded. There's no way that they're going to be saved, and so they sacrifice themselves to take out as much of the enemy or slow up the enemy as much as possible, type of thing. It's a big thing that happens in movies and TV shows, and I get it. And nothing against the sacrifice or anything like that. But she kind of showed it. So they kind of like Reva and the stormtroopers had time to go, oh shit. And they ran. I get it's an explosion. So a lot of those stormtroopers still got blasted and stuff. But like, think about if she just went like this and activated it right here. And they were still walking forward.
Oh, for sure. Right.
And I get it. It's because it wasn't Reva's time to like, it be an explosion or anything like that. But the
way that whole siege is edited is a little wonky, I think. Yeah. Like we talk about all the great things in the show, but there are some little things that come off a little weird here and there. Like at one point she's like leading the charge, and then she's like kind of like in the middle, and then she's like all the way behind them, and then like there's like all these little different ways that she kind of advances through.
Yeah, and when Vader is finally walking through it himself to find Kenobi, it seems like it's way bigger and way longer of a corridor than it seemed like when the initial siege happened, and then he told them to let up, type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seemed like it was like 2 rooms, and then when Vader was walking through, it seemed like it was like 14 rooms, because that's how long it took. Everyone had enough time to load up on a ship and to also have a decoy ship set up to launch in the meantime.
Yeah, really, for sure.
That's a long time. That's a good amount of time.
I think it's when you're dealing with episode run times, you have to kind of like you have to work with these you got to suspend your disbelief as far as like time gaps and stuff like that. But
we're talking about
editing wise, it just comes off a little wonky at times, but it's not enough to take you out of it, of course. Like you're still in it, and you're still like, okay, the payoff is the payoff, and it still works.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I could go on and we can go back and forth for a long time, and I'm more than happy to. But what were some of your instant reactions to this episode? I just figured we'll, get into some instant reactions.
Yeah. Man, this was probably my favorite episode of the season, right up there with episode 3. I like this one maybe a little bit more because we got so much context into everything that's going on with a lot of characters. Reva specifically, of course. I think she's been one of the more controversial characters of the show so far. Not everyone's on board with her, but the way they've handled her overall story, I think it's been great in my opinion, especially with this whole reveal into what her past was that I'll get into a little bit later. But man, what I really, really loved was we got to see the flashbacks that people have been clamoring for a long time. And it was a time era that I didn't really expect. I didn't expect really to see like pre-episode 2, really. Because this is an Anakin that never got to see or hasn't seen Padme yet in that long time since episode 1. He still has his hand, like all this stuff. And it's really cool getting to see kind of like the old Obi-Wan and the young Anakin. And like I couldn't tell if they were trying to do some de-aging technique on Anakin or not, but he still looked older. But it didn't take me out of it. I still just enjoyed seeing him be that young Anakin persona again. The like seeing actual training footage between Obi-Wan and Anakin, I thought was really good. I don't think we'd ever seen anything like that before. Clone Wars is really a lot of their adventures going on missions and stuff like that. But as a martial artist myself, like that relationship between a professor, a master, and their student is something I relate to a lot. And so seeing that dynamic shown in Star Wars is really cool because really Jedi's are like the martial artists of that universe in a way. So yeah, seeing all that was really amazing. We're seeing Hayden Christensen utilized as himself. I know he's been in the suit being Vader and stuff like that, but like getting to see him be him is probably one of the more satisfying things to see in the show for me personally. Um, and I also like how they tie this into Vader's character arc in the episode itself. Sometimes I almost think it's really hard to see Hayden Christensen and then the Darth Vader that we grew up loving as the same person. Sometimes, like you see them as almost two completely different characters because they are in a way, but they're like this is kind of making that character arc kind of more fluid. Like I'm starting to see now Anakin as that person in that suit. And Rebels is something that really helped with that a lot. We had that really great fight scene between Vader and Ahsoka where she broke his mask and we got to see Anakin through the mask, which was a really cool moment. So when we get these moments where we kind of see Anakin blending into Vader more, I really love that stuff. That's the stuff that really hits at the core for me. And of course, it also shows the relationship that Obi-Wan and Anakin have always had, and how Obi-Wan knows the things that make Anakin tick, and all these he knows his strengths, but he also knows his weaknesses, and he finds a way to utilize them, even as Vader when he's super powerful. And I love it.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool is basically we did see that he did learn, but the flashbacks helped us to kind of tell us what he learned, and it also showed that he didn't kind of learn everything, which is why Obi-Wan was able to kind of play his knowledge of Anakin against Darth Vader, basically.
Right.
So those flashbacks were really they were perfectly timed flashbacks because they really told without telling, kind of how these two people were kind of playing chess with each other, basically. And
yeah,
we did see that, Anakin did learn. I mean, he patiently waited, knowing that Reva was a youngling, knowing that she probably had ulterior motives, but just kind of sat there and was like, I'm gonna see if she acts on this. Like for a long time. 10 years or something? Like a long time.
Yeah, no, 10 years.
Yeah. So it's cool to have those flashbacks to show us how these two characters have progressed and how these two characters are trying to still play on what they know of each other, but they don't know everything of each other, type of thing. Like, I don't think Obi-Wan knowingly tried to put Reva in that situation. I don't know. I can't say that for a fact, but I don't think Obi-Wan was like, yeah, he'll kill her and we'll be able to escape.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just think
it's a smart play either way. Like he's going to use to fight, divide and conquer. Basically, is is what he tried to do, and whether it worked out or not, it worked out enough for him to get out of there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And before we get to big takeaways and everything, I wanted to say hi to Surefire Plan.
Yeah.
She, I'm not sure. Surefire Plan said, I'm not sure how I followed or when I found you. But yeah, episode 5 was pretty good in my opinion. Episode 1 and 3 are also great. But besides that, the show's been pretty mid, like Boba Fett. And
yeah, I can see people thinking that way.
I don't disagree with that because just and like I said, and that's why I kind of started it out with, I know you kind of like Star Wars just a little bit more than Marvel, and then I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah, and I love both, and it's
right. It's very
my emotional connection to Star Wars is definitely a lot deeper.
right. But I was feeling that with Boba Fett, like nothing to make me stop wanting to watch it, but I definitely enjoyed certain episodes more than I enjoyed others.
100%. Yeah,
and I think that's fair. Yeah. It's a fair assessment for any series whatsoever. I mean, look, there are some series out there where every episode is awesome. I mean, as an example, I mean, it's early in the series, but as an example, Miss Marvel, we both agreed that we loved both first and second episodes so far, and it's it's early in the series. We could have one that's a slower burn episode type of thing, but yeah, I think most series kind of have there's a couple episodes in there that like they're not your top tier favorite episode type of thing.
100%, yeah, and I was one of the people when Boba Fett was announced. I was like, do we even need the show? Like, I'm okay if he stayed dead. Like, I thought that was okay if he died that way. I didn't need the show, but when I got the show, I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't think it was like top tier content or something like that, but I thought it was a fun adventure show for what we were getting, and it actually made me appreciate the character a little bit more.
Right, and I'm going to say it. The Book of Mando episodes were probably my
right.
top
I think it's their way of building a like that expanding universe thing where like you can tell with the Mando stuff they're building into this big overall connecting story that I feel like maybe like Thrawn is their Thanos, and but the thing about Obi-Wan is you're involving two of literally the greatest Star Wars character of all time,
right?
So the expectations are going to be up here. And so I think when you're seeing like characters that we're so used to seeing in a very high budget movie setting, $200-300 million projects where everything looks amazing. And then we're thrown into like a TV budget sort of a setting where they're obviously using TV settings, TV style shooting, stuff like that. I think part of that can be a little daunting to watch, and especially in the writing. But the writing of the story, in my opinion, is perfect. Like in my opinion, like not perfect, but damn near perfect, because the way they're handling these characters is pretty awesome. There might be a little flaws here and there, but you're also beholden to a timeline that you have to follow certain parameters too. That puts a lot of pressure on you at the end of the day. Like Boba Fett, you had some freedom because you're telling a new story there in a different era of the timeline, but here you have to make sure you're sticking to certain parts and making sure these connections hit. So the pressure is definitely a lot more on Obi-Wan, but the fact that people are liking it, probably more so than disliking it, is a testament to them handling it the right way.
And I mean, I do agree with Martin. I do think that Obi-Wan is better than Boba Fett, series to series type of thing. I do agree with that. Nothing against the Book of Boba Fett series as a whole. Oh yeah, surefire plan.
A movie about Boba Fett would have made sense. Yeah.
No. Him and the Tuskens. I didn't even think of that, because what I was thinking that Surefire was talking about was originally the Kenobi project was supposed to be a movie, and then they said
I think this is better because I don't know if I would have liked this story told in a 2-hour.
It definitely would have been accelerated. Yeah. There would have been a lot of stuff left out and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't even think of that. Boba and the Tusken Raiders as a movie would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think we're definitely in a stage right now with Star Wars where, given the divisive reaction to the sequel trilogy, they just need to take these kind of few years off of movies. And I think Star Wars really does work best in television, in my opinion. So when we finally do get another movie again, I think Taika Waititi's movie is the next one we're gonna get, and I love a quote we saw recently from him where he talked about, goes like, I don't want to make something where we're talking about like Chewbacca's grandmother or something like that,
he said,
we don't have to do somewhere else to tie into something every single. So I'm excited to see these new stories that no one's gonna have expectations because they're from eras that we have no idea from yet. Like The Acolyte. I'm so excited for the Acolyte show because it's from an era that we really haven't explored yet. There are core characters, of course, that people want to see in Acolyte.
Sorry, finger slip.
We're almost there. And
this is why we do things pre-recorded instead of live.
That's it. We're doing it live. But yeah, but like characters like Revan, of course, but. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into these really fresh stories with fresh characters. Even Andor to a degree, because we know how a story ends, of course, but there's so much to him that we haven't explored. We're totally going to meet a lot of great new characters there. Stuff that is just not beholden to the Skywalker storyline. It's always the stuff that I'm most interested in.
And look, I think the series as a whole, like series, not just the Kenobi series, but series, the Star Wars series in general, I think are great as supplemental stuff to movies and stuff like that, especially now that we're getting these gaps filled in. And just like you said, there's that extra pressure because, we know where everything has to end up, and we know the timeline, and we know where the pieces have to fit, type of thing. So it kind of writes them into a certain degree of a box, but it's so much cooler, not so much cool, so much cooler to have where we can kind of fill in all of these gaps. And we're getting so many gaps filled in between, the Rebels TV series that you mentioned, and Clone Wars, and the prequels, and Andor that's going to be coming out is going to go into Rogue One, and Rogue One goes into Episode 4.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, like being able to have all these gaps filled in the rewatch type of thing.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned it before we even started recording, that you were starting your rewatch, and how your rewatch is getting
Yeah, I'm in
longer.
the middle of Clone Wars right now.
Yeah, how your rewatch is getting longer because of everything.
Everything coming out during my rewatch. Yeah, like we're gonna get season 2 of Bad Batch. I'm like, fuck. I gotta keep watching that too. Like it's gonna be great. Like I'm excited to rewatch all this stuff, and now, like the fact that we're filling in all these spots in the timeline that we haven't seen yet, it's just gonna make this even more fun to watch. Like, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't gotten any stuff like set before episode 1, like all the stuff that leads into everything that we're about to do. I guess we kind of actually are, because we're getting the Tales of the Jedi animation show, which is going to give us young Dooku and young Qui-Gon, young Mace Windu, and all that stuff. So that's actually going to end up being the earliest Star Wars timeline stuff that we've ever seen. And Martin, to answer your question, Rebels is set after Obi-Wan. Rebels is closer more to A New Hope, and I would say this is closer to Bad Batch. And if you played Jedi Fallen Order, that's about 5 years after, or Jedi Fallen Order is 5 years before this show is set.
So
this is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
As far as Andor and Rebels, are they happening at the same time? Is Rebels before Andor and then it's Andor?
I've heard that you can watch Andor leading right into Rogue One.
Okay.
So I think it's what he was doing when we met him. Because when we met him, he literally was like offering a dude for information. So he was already in the middle of a mission. So maybe the show, because the show's already confirmed for 12 episode seasons. So we're gonna get a lot of content in that era, and I'm so excited. But I think that show's gonna end with him getting whatever mission he needs to do to get into Rogue One.
That would be awesome if it led right in and we saw but I mean like perfectly. Like, you know how Jen is Jen Erso, right?
Yeah, Jen Erso.
Yeah. You know how she sees Cassian for the first time type of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we saw it from his perspective, seeing her for the first time, and that's how the series ended?
That'd be great. Yeah.
That would be
obviously I heard season 1 he won't meet K2SO, so that's probably gonna be in season 2. So like seeing how all that ties together is gonna be awesome. But now we're diverging into all of Star Wars.
Yeah, we're going really far. You want to get into some big takeaways?
Let's go.
Yeah. Now I can actually hit that. All right. So I'll kick us off with big takeaways. Look, I kind of started to mention it, but I love a good fake out scene. I loved how like we said, we had kind of a very strange, where Vader is kind of marching through the hallways of the base camp, I guess, the
hideout, basically.
Yeah, the lockdown hideout type of thing. And everybody else is like, they're getting into the ship, and we didn't know that there were 2 ships. And so immediately we see this really cool scene where Vader shows like how strong he really is.
Oh yeah, dude.
This ship was taking off, and he stopped it cold and then pulled it back down to the ground, and then just ripped it apart. With one arm, basically. And then as soon as he does that, and as soon as he rips it apart, as like the biggest F you can give, they just took off from behind.
Yeah. Hated him.
It was perfect. And I just imagine like if Kenobi and Anakin have some sort of forced telepathy talk, I just imagine him going, psych.
Yeah, gotcha,
or
bitch.
or
Yeah,
suck it,
basically.
loser, something like
Yeah.
something like that, because it's the perfect fake out scene, and I loved it, and I mean it goes back to what I was kind of saying at the beginning, where it's really cool that we were able to see the flashbacks that tied into what was actually happening. So we saw how the two characters were trying to play chess with each other, and
Mhm.
how, you know, I mean, we kind of knew that Obi-Wan was going to have to get out of there somehow, because we only have a finale left and that's it. And we know how we know where the players end up at the end. So we knew eventually, like, Obi-Wan, at least in this part of the chess match, wins. But it was just interesting to kind of see that, and see that, Anakin did learn something, learned some patience playing a long game, but he is still falling to letting his I guess anger, his stuff cloud his judgment, because, like, it should have been easy enough if you were there in person to see two ships.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. But he weakened himself pulling the second ship down, I
I
guess.
mean, one ship could block the other view of the other ship.
Right.
I didn't see it. I didn't even see it when the first one was pulling up. I was like, "Is there another ship there?" And then I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." And then the second time, I'm like, "Oh, I think it might have been there." Yeah, for sure. But
It's like magic.
yeah, that was
But
good little force.
yeah, to me that was the perfect just psych out. Like, I laughed at that part, because I just imagined, like, any kind of, like, force connection and just going, suck it, loser, and then just, like, leaving. Oh no, Rico, we're live and you froze. All right, everybody's stuck with me talking some more. Anyway, I'm gonna keep talking until Rico comes back. Um, but yeah, let me see what Martin said. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I imagined him saying was "suck it, Anakin." Martin. I just think that was the perfect time for him to be saying that, and I mean, it caught completely by surprise. And I mean, the next thing that we got was, what I said was the other side of it, and we see that Anakin really did learn, and learn to have patience, and learn to have a long game, because he basically, you know, not only revealed to Riva that he knew she was a youngling, she knew she was there the whole time, type of thing, and he knew that the whole time. So he played the long con with that, but he knew that she was probably going to end up trying some shit, and he just kind of sat there and let her, be an inquisitor for a long time, basically years. Um, so I thought that was really interesting to see. And do we have a Johnny Rico sighting? Let me see.
We're back.
And we're back. All right. So I finished my big takeaway,
Apologies.
and I started to get into how the other side of it, how we did see that Anakin slash Darth Vader did learn
Yeah.
a little bit. He learned patience, and that's with dealing with Riva, in the sense of, he knew the entire time that she was a youngling, and that she potentially was going to start some shit at some point. But he just
Yeah.
kind of played the long game and let her be one of the Inquisitors, and just kept her close basically the entire time, and knowing that eventually she was probably going to pounce, and he just kind of let it happen. He could have just cut her down anytime. Um, and so anyway, so that kind of leads into your. I didn't want to go too far into your big takeaway. I was kind of just, I knew you were coming back, but I just wanted to mention that before. But what was your big takeaway? Oh, crying out loud! You froze again. All right, I'm gonna keep talking about Rico then. Uh, I will say this, and let me get rid of Rico. Oh, that is the opposite of what I want. That was weird. I really did like the saber duel between Riva and Darth Vader. I thought that was really, really cool. Not only the actual duel itself, but the lead up to the duel, like, where he is just basically demonstrating that he does not even need a lightsaber to fight somebody with a lightsaber, basically. He just straight up is just, like, controlling her and the saber the entire time, and just, like, at any point he could have just went and just, like, cut her with a saber, but it was just like, it was like a cat playing with, like, a mouse, basically, or like anything that is trying to catch outside, which is super disturbing. If you've ever seen a cat try to play with what it's hunting, it's very scary. Yeah, I'm using force powers on Rico. I wish he would come back because I don't want to step on his big takeaways, and at this point, I'm getting more into his takeaway territory. But that duel itself, when he basically smashes apart her lightsaber, was awesome. I thought that was great because we have this Jedi who, or I guess Sith at this point, who is super well trained, and it's almost like we now have the opposite. Now we have Darth Vader, who's calm, cool, collected, and we have Reva, who's going off of anger and revenge and stuff like that. So it's almost like we're seeing like the opposite sides of things, and it's a really cool scene in general to see, I thought. But I think we have Rico back.
Hi.
Rico, hi, you're back.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm here.
Before anything bad happens, what are your big takeaways?
Okay, so yeah, I called this a few weeks back of what I felt like would be the right approach to be for Reva's character, in that she was a youngling. She was the youngling that we saw in the very first scene of the show that was trying to get away with her fellow Padawan classmates on Order 66. And of course, we learned that they thought that Anakin was there to help them, and of course that wasn't the case. He ended up literally killing all of her friends in front of her, and she had to hide with the bodies as they turned cold, which is a really dark and grim
That
way.
is a disturbing line.
The way they talked about it, yeah, and of course, getting that reveal and stuff like that, and how Obi-Wan is able to work with her in that way to get her to do what she tries to do, was really awesome. And
The heck was that?
that was my cat sneezing. So so yeah, I super enjoyed the scenes between her and Obi-Wan, and seeing that dynamic. Of course, the way she throws it back to him, like, where were you? Like, that was your Padawan. Why weren't what the heck, dude? Like, so yeah, that whole like back and forth between them was really great. And then, of course, when she inevitably tries to strike Vader down, and he was like, "Nope, not gonna happen." And honestly, like, that fight scene was really awesome. Just seeing one, because Vader really is the master to them. Like, that's the master, and Reva is the student. Um, he's trained them, of course, and he knows exactly what to expect from each one of them. And so when the way he's able to just kind of like easily dodge the stuff, and of course he doesn't even need to pull out his lightsaber at all for this entire fight. Easily disarms her, splits her lightsaber, and goes, "Okay, let's go at it, you and me." Like, and then he actually manages to. He tries to strike her a few times. She gets out of the way, and there's some pretty good moments there. But the flashbacks actually come into play again, and Vader pulls the move that Obi-Wan pulled on him, and he disarms Reva, basically. And that is where the student becomes the master, in a sense. But I don't think that pays off, that line in episode 4 where he goes, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." But it very well could, like, if that is their way of showing off how, like, that he's come full circle as a student to a master. That's also pretty cool. But that fight was just a really great way to display Vader's power. And of course, seeing him pull down the ship later on was so badass. And of course, it reminded me, one, of the Star Wars Force Unleashed games, when as Star Killer, you literally pull down an entire Star Destroyer in the game, and it's one of the coolest moments in the whole game franchise. And also in Clone Wars, Ahsoka does the exact same thing. She uses the Force to hold a ship that Darth Maul is trying to escape from, except she's just not powerful enough to pull it down the way Vader is. So again, it shows how powerful Vader is. We also do get it in Rise of Skywalker, of course, with the whole scene with Rey, which is a whole another thing in and of itself. But and another thing, as Vader is striking Reva down, actually, he stabbed her again with the lightsaber. I love the way they edited it because it's cut with her as a little kid and then current her, but looking at it's like little Riva is looking at Vader, and then young or older Riva is looking at the Anakin that struck her down, which is this really cool little way of just showing, one where Anakin has gone as a character, but also where Riva has gone in that 10 years too. Um, so the fact that he did the exact same thing to her that he did to her back when she was a child was really cool. Obviously, given how he's struck down other inquisitors in the past, I'm surprised he didn't do it a lot more brutally. But that's you can call that plot armor defense right there.
Yeah, and this question comes right from Goes. I will say this. I did shout out to Goes from
Goes.
Radio. He didn't put it here. I was talking to him actually before this, but he was like, why didn't you just kill her? Why you stab her and then just walk away?
I totally thought that was going to be like twice now. I thought that he was going to kill her like this way, and it didn't happen, of course, and it leads to a moment later on in the episode, of course. But the other reveal that it leads to is the return of the Grand Inquisitor, and of course, showing that he does survive the stab that Riva gave him in the first episode, and I love the way he talks about how revenge does wonders for one's will to live, which is, of course, a great nod to Darth Maul in the Clone Wars arc, because Homeboy got cut in half, and because he hated Obi-Wan so much, he stayed alive until they were able to give him robot legs. And it's just like, boom. Okay, like you're making everything make sense really in that right there. Like if you hate somebody that much, it'll keep you alive if you are with the dark side,
So just so everybody knows, if you want to live forever, hate somebody.
If you're a bad person, yeah, I mean that's the dark side of the force. The dark side of the force is the pathway to many abilities that some consider to be unnatural, Danny. So that it kind of plays into, of course, Riva surviving the wounds that she suffers at the end of this episode. Like, why is she not dead? Because her hatred for Vader and for Kenobi is so, she has so much hatred for them that it's gonna keep her alive for whatever it's gonna happen in the finale, and I can't wait to see what that's gonna be.
Yeah, I am super excited for the finale, and I mean, I think you mentioned it already, but we're getting leaks that it could be up to 90 minutes at this point.
Yep. The movie, because they're releasing the show in movie theaters after it's complete, and then I guess they're doing tickets by episode, so it looks
so they're not doing like a marathon, because like when Infinity War, I'm using this in comparison to Marvel.
I think because those are officially hosted events, that's why that they do full marathons like that. But because this is like something they're doing commercially, like if people want to just go see certain episodes in the theater, they can do that.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, so leading up to Infinity War, I think it was AMC. I don't know. It was either Regal or AMC. They did a thing where you could pay, I want to say it was like $150. It wasn't astronomical, but they were going to play all of the movies that led up to Infinity War. Or was it to Endgame? It was one or the other. It might have been
one or the other, yeah. Probably both. They do it multiple times for the big movies.
But you pay that one flat fee, and then you can come and go as you please, basically, because you get not only a pass, but you got like a bunch of swag and stuff like that. They knew who you were, basically. You had your seat for the entire marathon, which was days at a time. So you could just go home and go to sleep. You could be like, oh, they're playing 3 movies that I don't care about. I'll just go home at midnight and come back at 10 a.m. type of thing.
Yeah.
But this isn't that long of a series, so I would have thought $50 get you all of them, and then the end.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how it's gonna work, to be honest. Like I know they're gonna do it in theaters, but I'm not really sure how you do TV in theaters is beyond me.
Yeah. You want to get into some predictions?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Finale predictions. Why don't you go first on this one? Because I don't know if I have a really solid prediction. Like I've been saying this entire episode. We know where things are going to end up eventually. We know where people are going to end up. before the end or by the end of this series. But getting there is kind of the big question mark. And we have a bunch of different camps right now, kind of all in transit, basically. So I don't want to step over yours, but that's kind of like mine's really muddy right now. But I wanted you to get to yours first.
Okay. Yeah, so I was almost like kind of getting into this in my takeaways, and then I stopped myself. But of course, like as Reva is left for dead by Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, of course, we're gonna leave you in the gutter, as he said. She notices the comm device that Haja had dropped as they were all escaping, and it's like, dang it, Haja, you did it, you stupid dummy. But so she's able to kind of turn it on and see that the footage itself is damaged, so I can't tell if it's supposed to mean that she can't tell who is speaking. But she hears about the boy and Owen and Tatooine and of course stuff like that, and she directly interacted with Owen, so she knows that he was hiding somebody now. And I'm very, very curious to see how that's going to play into the finale, of course, because we had the end shot of Luke sleeping in his bed. Of course, like I kind of love the way they ended the episode, how it brought us all back to what is really important, and that is Obi-Wan protecting Luke, and that is how we meet them, and that's the whole core of the character, really, in his older years. And so I'm extremely curious about how Reva learning that information is going to play into the finale. Is it going to mean, like, one, she's so badly wounded now, I don't know how she's going to like be able to move on and be like the threat that she's been throughout the show, because obviously the Empire looks at her as a traitor now because she tried to kill Vader and the Grand Inquisitor and stuff like that, so they're not going to help her. I just can't see a scenario where, like, I don't see her as, she's not good in my opinion, she's bad. She's still a bad person who's done bad things, and she's going to do bad things to do what she wants to do, which is kill Vader. So I don't see like Obi-Wan like being like, okay, here, get in our back to tank and we're gonna help you, like, situation. Like, that's not gonna happen. So like, is it gonna be a thing where she's going to try to get to Obi-Wan on Tatooine through Luke or something like that, and it's gonna end in Obi-Wan and Reva going one at it on Tatooine after Obi-Wan fights Vader at some point? Because again, we got this long finale, so I think there's gonna be a lot in this episode that we're not gonna, or that we haven't seen, of course. The Qui-Gon Force Ghost. We're gotta get the second Vader and Obi-Wan fight. We gotta get this whole wrap up with Reva and see where her character goes from this point. If they do a season 2, like, I don't even know what, like, that's the whole thing. We don't even know the future of the show in general. So we don't know how far this story is planned to go. Like, is this going to be the end all be all ending of this story, or is it going to lead into something that we're going to keep seeing on in the future?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely, there's a lot of things to consider, and we really don't know. We haven't gotten any answers if this is a limited series and that's all we're getting, or if this is going to be a thing that they're going to stretch into a season 2.
Yeah.
So that's a really good question. I mean, basically what I was talking about when I was saying we've kind of got 4 groups in play. Reva's one. We have the group of basically the beginning of the rebellion group, which is Obi-Wan and Leia and that team now, that is on a ship that their hyperdrive is screwed up with, and now has group 3, the Empire and Darth Vader after them. So that's the 3 groups. And then the 4th is Leia's adopted father, who basically in the message, before it was damaged, we got to see the actual full message. And it basically said, I haven't heard from you, made me worried. If I don't hear from you in some time, I forget how much time he said, then I'm going to go to Tatooine and try to, I guess, meet up with Luke, because that's important. So I don't know if he was going to.
I think he just wants to make sure the boy, because, the 3 people who know about this are him, Obi-Wan, and Yoda, like, who know about the kids. So no one else knows about Luke to go and protect them if Luke or if Obi-Wan is presumed dead by Bail, of course. So yeah, if the worst has happened, then I have to go to Tatooine and get the boy, basically.
Right. And what I've been saying is we know where everybody ends. We know Bail and Leia are go back to
We see Bail as late as Rogue One.
Yeah.
And literally at the end of Rogue One, when he goes, "I trust her with my life," and that's when we get the Leia reveal at the end, which is really cool. So we know Bail is there to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So we know where they end up. We know that Obi-Wan ends back up on Tatooine, still watching over Luke from afar. So we know Luke's gonna be okay. Rita's not in the original trilogy, so
No Inquisitors are, so
right.
like,
so
how they all meet their ends before this timeline is.
Yeah, well, we know in Rebels, right? Because I haven't watched all of Rebels.
A lot of them die in Rebels.
Yeah, a lot of them get murdered in Rebels.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we don't know if she's going to meet her end in the finale or if there's a second season. Basically, we don't know what's going to happen with her if her ending is going to be tied up in the Kenobi series or if she's supposed to just be presumed that she gets done away with sometime in the Rebels.
Right.
But yeah, it's really interesting to kind of know where everything's going to end. Like I keep saying this because I just think it's a very interesting way to watch a series is knowing where it's all going to end, but watching the journey to get there. And I think that's really cool. And that's why there's so many questions because we're like, there's not a lot of time for all of this to happen because, we've got Qui-Gon Force Ghost. We've got Obi-Wan and Darth Vader duel. We've got how is Reva going to get off the planet, let alone get to Tatooine, let alone get deterred from Tatooine to leave Luke alone and Obi-Wan alone, because we know that has to happen. And Leia getting back on to her regular planet to grow up, type of thing. So, like, there's a lot that's gotta happen.
Yeah, it's like we get the who, the where, and the when, and we just don't know the how and the why. And we're getting the how and the why in these shows. It's really cool.
So I can say it a million different ways and a million different times, but I'm just really excited to see how the finale kind of ties everything up and gets us those people, gets everyone to the places that we know that they eventually have to be.
Same.
So I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm really interested. Do you have any last minute things you want to throw out about the finale? Say it now or
rest in peace, Ned and Tala, man. May the force be with you. I'm telling you, man, the Rogue One vibes of the sacrifices that he shows is probably the best thing that the Disney era Star Wars has done. Aside from Rise of Skywalker, because they just kept faking us out on deaths. But when they do a death and they stick to it, they're some of the more emotionally impactful scenes of the show, and the show definitely was one of them. But characters we haven't known that long too, and that's probably another a testament to the writing and how they do these moments.
Absolutely, and as always, R.I.P. Wade.
R.I.P. Wade, Ned, Tala, all of you.
Yes.
For the rebellion, may the force be with you.
One last time about this episode, it was this.
Emotional damage.
But anyway, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? And what do you think is going to happen in the, I guess, season finale, series finale? We don't really know yet. Just finale. What do you think is going to happen next episode in the finale to get all of these parties to where they need to be? Basically, there's so much that's going to happen. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest video releases. Bye, everybody.
Hello there.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.